Alright, so I'm going to be opening up and showing how to disassemble this Gigabyte Aero 15. Let's see if there's any other model numbers. Nope. Okay, so yeah, this is a Gigabyte Aero 15. It's making some crazy fan noise, so hopefully this will be repairable, and I won't have to replace the fans. We'll see. So basically when you turn it on, let's see here. Here you can hear the fan noise. So it's making that crazy noise. So we're gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna close this. So to remove the bottom cover, it looks like you need a T5 screwdriver. So you want to remove all the screws. The two here have little security stickers, so I'm gonna try and see if I can remove those. Let me see if I can show that on camera. Okay, so you're gonna need like a little needle. I have this little bent, let's see if I can show this. I have this bent needle here, see? So I just bent it with some pliers. You don't have to have a bent needle. I bent it for other things I work on. But anyways, I'm gonna try and show close up. Let's see if I can, of how you remove one of these stickers. If you don't care, technically you can just you can just scrape the whole thing off. But I try and not destroy the sticker, so let's see if that's possible, or if I'm gonna have to just destroy this sticker. Okay, it's most likely I'm gonna have to destroy it because it's stuck on pretty strong. But yeah, looks like I'm gonna have to just destroy the sticker. Yep. Oh, whoa, that screw is actually not even in very tight. So it doesn't look like you can safely remove the sticker, so I'm just gonna use the screwdriver and undo the screw. It looks like it's coming out without much force, so that's kind of interesting. All right, and to make it easier, you can use like a magnet or something. I have this little magnet on here, and I just use that to pull the screw out. Okay, so I'm going to remove the other two screws, and then we're going to go ahead and remove the cover. Oops. There we go. All right, so let's remove these other two screws. These are kind of like warranty stickers, so once you take those out, I guess it will void whatever warranty you have, or they'll use it as a way to try and void your warranty. In a lot of places, I think those stickers shouldn't be able to void the warranty unless they can see that you did something to cause damage to the computer. Okay, so let's see here, let's zoom back in. So now that we got all those screws off, let's see, the cover has a little gap around the rim here. So let's see if it's going to be difficult to pop out or if it will just come out easily. There's only those rims. Okay, so what I'm going to do is stick my fingernails in here in the gap, and let's try and pull it up. It's still stuck pretty strong. So let's see here. That doesn't want to come out at all. Let's try. Let's try flipping it up this way. There's nothing. Nope, I don't think you pull it from there. So it does have to come from this side. Alright, let's try with a suction cup. So I'm going to try a suction cup on here. Let's see if I can pull up. Nope. So this cover is stuck in there pretty strong. Okay, let's see how I can remove this. Okay, it looks like from the back it's coming up a little bit. So I'm just sliding my fingernails along the back. I don't know if you can see that, but there's this little gap here. So that seems to be popping the cover off, at least partially. Okay. This cover's like stuck in there really strong. So only the middle half came up. So it formed a gap. So this cover seems to be very difficult to remove, actually. I don't know if there's any special tricks to this one. Let's see. Maybe from this side, because there's all these little pieces. No? Wow, I don't know. This one's going to be tough. Let's try with the metal tool. I usually don't like using the metal tool and forcing stuff open, but let's see. It might have to be used. So, Okay, so I'm sliding it there. I did feel a clip release. Okay. Yeah, these, I don't know, these clips are super strong. They really don't want to come out. Come on. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. These clips are super strong. They don't want to come out. I don't think there's any screws from the top. Yeah, the keyboard's not removable from the top. So you do have to remove it somehow from the bottom here. But this frame, I don't know, it's holding itself really strong. Okay, I guess you kind of just have to use some force. Let me see if I can take a look and see what the clips look like inside. Okay, so here, actually, I don't know if you can even see. This is what the clips look like. So the clips actually go in to the bottom, the top side, and then it latches under. So technically, you should be able to just push the pry tool straight down, and it should unclip. If you want, you can pull the pry tool towards yourself, and that should undo the clip. Okay. So if there are clips in there, I'm gonna go straight down like this, and then kind of pull it towards yourself. That should release it, but they're very strong clips. So let's see, do I have to lift this up while I do it? Kind of want to be careful because there can be components in there that you can damage, so you don't want to stick the tool too far. Okay. Wow, these clips are really strong. Okay, let's go around this side. So if you do this, just keep that in mind. These clips are very strong. You're going to need a pretty sturdy tool to open it up. Okay. Here you go. There we go. It's working. Okay, let's go back to this side. Do the same thing. That's already open. There we go. Okay, so now that we got that open, got to, let's see if lifting this up will help release the clips. They're still holding in pretty strong. I'm gonna have to pry up that back too. Okay, let's do that then. So now that we got all those sides, let's go towards the back here and pry that as well. There we go. Okay, so this you need some pretty strong, thin prying tools, so most likely metal. Okay, but you have to be careful. There's the speaker down here, the two speakers down here, and then the fan grates on the motherboard is up here. So this side I was able to pop out with just pulling on it with my nails. It wasn't too difficult because this side moves a bit more. But yeah, so let's see. So this is the bad fan. You can see even when I spin it by hand, it's making that noise. So let's see if I can pull that fan out. Normally, if you're working on these computers, if you don't know what you're doing, you want to disconnect the battery first. So the battery connector is underneath this adhesive. Let's see here. It doesn't look like the battery's held in with any screws, which is interesting. Okay, let me do a close-up here and show you what's going on. Actually, that's probably too close because you can't see the whole battery. Let me zoom out a little. Okay, so the battery, you can kind of grip it from the back here. There's a bunch of adhesive holding it down, so you're going to have to peel these off. So if you need to replace the battery, let's see, is there a model number here? Model number is GAG-J40, and then they have the part number here if you need this. Part number 5413874600005. Okay, so that's the model number for the battery, and I'm going to remove the battery first. So let's peel this adhesive off. Okay, just like this. Okay, so there's 3 pieces of tape holding this down. Pretty interesting. They don't actually use anything to really secure this battery. This isn't really securing the battery, it's more just to keep it from falling out, but it doesn't really keep it from moving around. Okay, so once we got those pieces of adhesive off, you can pick up the battery like this, it looks like. And then we can pull the battery back. And then we got this really long battery cable here. So be careful with that. And then to remove the connector here, let's see if I can show this close up. So just like most of the other connectors, if you can, get your fingernails on the sides and then just wiggle it. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Just keep wiggling, okay? Just keep going. This one is stuck in there pretty good. Come on, come on. Keep wiggling and pulling. Wow, this is very strong. Okay. So we might have to use the wires to pull this if it doesn't come out this way. I try and avoid pulling the wires. There we go. So usually you don't want to pull the wires because the wires are more delicate, but I was able to get it out just by wiggling it. It did take quite a bit of force though. All right, so let's zoom back out. After you get the battery out, usually what you want to do is press and hold the power button to drain any power from the computer so that you don't cause any damage. Hold it for about 15 seconds, okay? The board here is no longer held in place with the screws, so you want to hold this down because if otherwise it flexes outwards. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, so hold that down. All right, I'm not going to disconnect all the components from this, but I will show like kind of some more basic stuff like the RAM and the hard drive or the SSD. So you got the wireless card here underneath this adhesive, and or I guess you don't have to take out the adhesive because that's the bottom part where it connects to the board. So you just peel up this half. All right, there's one screw here. I'll show this close up. I'm not going to remove it, but if you're curious, almost all my videos show how to remove the wireless cards. It's basically the same idea. You pull up from the tail of the wire and the connector will pop off, and then you take the one screw out, it'll pop up at an angle and you can pull it out. Okay, so I'm going to leave the wireless card alone. This fan, it looks like it's part of the heatsink. Let me see, there's one screw here that I can access, so I'm going to take this screw out and see if I can remove the fan. But it looks like I might have to take the whole heatsink out, which is going to suck because that means all the thermal paste is going to have to be redone. Let's see. If I'm lucky, I can remove the screws here that are holding this in place. So, oops, sorry, you can't even see. Okay, so I removed the one screw from here. It's a PH1, and so that way I can try and remove the fan, but it doesn't come out. So I'm removing these little square pads here that are covering these small screws. So right here, there's another one, okay, and then there's another one here. All right, and one more here. So hopefully this fan will be repairable. Usually these small screws you're going to have to use like a PH0 or a PH00. So I damaged my PH0 screwdriver, so let's see if I can do it with the 00. Yep. Okay, so got this out. Got this one. So there's 4 of these little screws. I'm hoping that if I remove these, I can take the fan out without removing the whole heatsink, because otherwise I'll have to redo the thermal paste and everything underneath the GPU and CPU part. Okay, so we're going to remove all these little screws, and hopefully there's enough clearance that I can pull the fan out. I don't know if there's going to be, but we will find out. Okay, so I got all those 4 screws out. All right, and then the connector here, just like the other one, I use my fingernails and just keep wiggling it. All right, wiggle, 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 wiggle. There you go. And then we got that. And here you can see the fan comes separate from this piece, but the problem is the heatsink is on top, so it's making it difficult to remove. Otherwise, you could normally just lift up this metal plate and then pull the fan out. But it kind of sucks that they put it like that. Let me see if I can get enough clearance to pull the fan out. Kind of want to be careful. Okay, it's moving slightly, but I don't think it's gonna move enough. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to remove the thing, sadly. Let's try and get it from the side here. The other option is I can take the whole motherboard out, but that's also kind of a big pain. So yeah, let's see what I can do. Okay, I'm gonna try and do this a way that I don't have to take everything completely out, because I don't want to have to redo that. Well, anyways, I'll show you the RAM here. So the RAM, just like every other model, pull the two tabs to the side and then the RAM stick will pop up like that. Then here you can see, they don't actually say what type this is. This is DDR4. If you want to know what type of RAM this is, you can look up the model of this Kingston RAM. I hate Kingston RAM because they don't put like the actual speed and stuff on here. At least I don't think it's on there. So yeah, I don't see anything that really describes it, but you'll have to look up the model. I think it's the CBD26 whatever number. So hopefully once you look that up, you can find out what the speed and everything of it is. All right, so we'll put the stick of RAM back in. All right, and as for the SSD, this is a M.2 NVMe PCIe SSD. Then you got a second slot. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. So you got this one here. To remove that, you just use a PH0 screwdriver and then remove the screw. Okay. Once you remove the screw, it'll pop up at an angle like that, and then you can just pull it out. Okay. So I'm going to put it back in because I don't need to remove that. Okay. Then you actually have another slot here for another PCIe NVMe SSD. So if you wanted to add a second one, you can. And they even put a screw there so you can actually place it. So you can use, yeah, both SATA or PCIe NVMe, whichever you prefer. Let's see, you got the LCD connector here. What else? I think this is for like the camera and stuff, this smaller connector. You got another, the antenna wires coming down. Oops. I need to zoom back out. Okay, so LCD connector here. All right, you use this blue tab to pull it up. If you remove this, make sure that you did disconnect the battery and hold the power button down for about 15 seconds. Then you got the wireless antenna going down here. You got this cable connecting down here, which is, I believe, for the webcam, yeah, for the camera and sensors. Let's see, anything else to show here? There's a whole bunch of these connectors, but they're all underneath this black plastic. So let's see. Is that for, what's that? Okay, so this is for the LEDs, this silver cable here, and you just pop up these little latches to remove these cables. I'm not going to remove them because I don't need to, but I'm just going to go ahead and explain what's going on here. You got this connector here, the green and silver one. That's for the trackpad buttons. Then you got this cable here is for the trackpad itself. Okay. There's some cables running along under here, but I can't see where they're going. It looks like the keyboard cable and stuff is attached underneath the motherboard. So if you remove the motherboard, keep that in mind. You're going to have to be very careful lifting it out or you can damage it. Yeah, so you got these orangey colored cables. I think that's the keyboard cable. So just know that you're going to have to be careful, okay? If you're going to try and take those out. Let's see here. I believe this small one connector is the speaker connectors. It has all these wires running along. And there's one speaker connector here, the red and black one for this. Then you got, actually, where's that going? Actually, both speakers are connected to this one spot. So I'm not too sure what this cable is for. Can't really see where it's going. Or is it both? I'm confused now. No, that's the speaker cable. So what's this other one? Oh, I think that's the CMOS battery. Oh yeah, okay. So this connector here, the red and black, is the CMOS battery or the BIOS battery. And then this connector here is the speaker. I was wondering how they did 2 cables for both speakers. Okay, so that looks like that's all there is to this. As far as replacing the fans go, let me see. I'm going to try and work on this and see if I can get the fan out. But it looks like I'm going to have to redo the thermal paste. Yeah. Okay, so I guess you guys are going to get to see me remove the heatsink. I was trying to avoid that, but okay, I guess you'll get to see thermal paste reapplication. Usually for this, I try and save all the heat pads so that you can reuse them later. So be careful not to get them dirty. Okay, so these rubber pads are here to help keep the screws from loosening themselves, I think. So it presses against the bottom cover and keeps the screws in place. So keep that in mind. There's 4 for the GPU. Actually, let me do a close-up of this. Or at least slightly close up. Okay. So there's 4 of these rubber pads for the GPU. Okay, and then there's 3 for the CPU. And I try and keep all this stuff in order with the screws and the pads, just so I put back the same thing where I got them. Sometimes you never know, they'll use some slightly thicker piece somewhere and you don't want to mix it up, or they use a slightly longer screw or wider screw and you don't want to put the wrong screw and then damage. Alright, so these should come out with a pH 1. Alright, so if you loosen them slowly, don't a little bit at a time. Don't try and undo one screw completely by itself, okay? You want to undo them a little at a time. Oh, you also have to remove this other screw for this fan. Okay, so make sure you remove the fan screw and also disconnect the fan connector underneath here, okay? So I'm going to set the adhesive aside because I don't want it to get dust all over it when I put it back, or when I blow the dust out, okay? So this connector, just like the other ones, get your 2 fingernails in here if you can, and then just wiggle it. Let's see, I have to turn it around. Okay, so here we go. I don't know if that's even in camera. So just grab it and wiggle it. Okay, keep wiggling it, and it will eventually come out. It is slowly coming out. Okay, this one doesn't have much space to work with, but there we go. Got the fan connector out of that one as well. Now we have to completely undo these screws. Again, you want to remove them a little bit at a time. You don't want to just undo one screw completely, because they are kind of helping hold the whole panel down. And if you just do like a few at a time, it's gonna cause it can cause it to bend, okay? So you know the screw's completely out when you hear it click. So you can hear the click sound. Alright. Once you do that, you don't want to lift it by the heat pipes because the heat pipes can bend easily. So I'll try and lift from here, okay? Just like this. And it's still being held down with like some adhesive and stuff here. So you kind of have to peel this out as well. So there's some tape here holding this down. So you want to peel that out as well. Okay. Hopefully that should be enough. Oh, geez, that's really dusty in there. Okay. So let's lift this up. I kind of want to avoid blowing this out while it's lifted up, because all the dust is going to go into those components. So what I'm going to do, let me actually put the screws down. I'm going to try and clean out some of the dust first. So I'm going to leave this down so that way when I blow the dust out, it's not going to stick all over the heat pads. Okay, so let's clean this down. Okay. And don't forget there's this thermal pad on the SSD as well. So to protect that, what I do is I just get a piece of plastic or something and cover it. So you can get any piece of plastic. I'll just get a piece of like a Ziploc bag or something. You can get any like junk plastic you have lying around. Just make sure it's clean. Okay. Just cut a piece of this. Alright. Just like that. So now we've got a piece of plastic and we just cover this thermal pad. Okay, that will keep it from getting contaminated with a bunch of dust. Sorry, it's off view. Okay, so now I'm going to clean this out and I'll be back. Alright, so now that most of the dust is cleaned out, I will continue removing the heatsink. Okay, so let's take these screws back out. Again, you just want to remove them a little bit at a time. Okay, and then twist it until you hear the click. Okay. Okay, now that you got all those screws out, again, you want to lift from one of these more solid areas. You don't want to lift from the heat pipe. Sometimes if the thermal paste is bad, it will hold on really strong. So just keep that in mind, okay? And also make sure you took out the screw from the fan here and here, okay? So let's lift this up. Okay, some of the thermal pads are still kind of held down. Oh, there's another screw up here for the fan as well. Make sure you remove that one. I didn't notice that. Okay. So make sure you remove both those fan screws. Okay, now we should be able to lift it up, no problem. So the thermal pad is stuck onto this, so I kind of have to lift it slowly. There we go. Okay, and there's a little bit of tape adhesive stuck on there. Okay, make sure your fans are removed. Okay, so this, they use some gross like melted thermal pad stuff. So I don't know about replacing that. That's, yeah, usually the thermal pads stay solid like this. This thing must have gotten super hot or something. I'm going to add a little bit of my thermal paste just to fill in the gaps. And then, yeah, other than that, we'll let it be. So, I'm going to clean off some more dust from this fan. Alright. On the other side, it's a little dusty. Okay. So we're going to see if this fan is repairable, because if the fan isn't repairable, then we kind of did all of this for nothing. So the screws that we removed, let's see, this side? Yeah, it's this fan. Okay, so it did allow the fan to drop out of here, but the thing is, they use an adhesive as well, so we have to peel off this adhesive. So as you can see, it's stuck on there. I'm going to clean the fan grill because it's a little dusty still. So let's clean that as well. No, it doesn't really clean off, so guess we'll just leave that. Okay, it did clean off. Okay, so there we go. Alright, so to peel this off, I like to try and peel so that the fan comes out and this stays attached to the heatsink. So I hold the adhesive and then I pull the fan away slightly at an angle like this. Okay, so now we got the fan out. Okay, I'm probably going to open up this side as well just to clean the dust out because it was pretty dusty inside. But be careful. Let's see, actually, I'll just do it by brush and the fan, because if I have to open it up, I have to take off all those adhesive thingies and they might not stick so well. So I'll leave those and then I'll just use the air blower later. Okay, so to fix the fan, hopefully this blade is removable. Okay, it is. So let's see. So right now, if you look at the fan, the way it spins, it kind of stops pretty quickly. Let me see if I get my air blower. I'll be back and I'll show you if I can make the sound. Alright, so I'm back with this air blower. So let's see if I can make the sound without the computer spinning it. Oh, I can't make the sound, but I can definitely feel it. So here you can see how quickly the fan stops. It needs Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add grease to this fan. So what I do is I take the fan out. Okay, I just use some synthetic motor oil. I've been using just this old bottle of Mobil 1. Okay, and then to add the oil, you can use anything really to get the oil in there. But what I do is I will take a needle. Let me see if I can do kind of a close-up of this. I probably need to move the laptop out of the way. Let's move this out of the way. Okay, so we'll use that. We'll zoom in. Okay, so basically what I do is I take the bottle, I'll take the needle, make sure it's clean, tilt the bottle to just get the oil on the needle, right? You'll get like a little drop, and then you take that droplet and you just drop it in the center of the fan, the little bearing here, okay? So that will get some oil into the fan bearing. Once you do that, then you want to take the fan blade, put it back in, okay, and then spin it around a little bit. You can already tell it's a lot better, at least I can. And then just spin it up. So here you can see the difference. It spins for much longer. Okay, and then usually after I do that, I take it back out, clean off the oil from this piece. All right, so just use like a paper towel or a napkin. Okay, put the fan blade back in. Be careful when you put it down, you don't want to damage the wires. Spin it around a little bit again. Take the thing back out, clean off the oil again. Just clean it off, okay? And then add a tiny bit more oil. Just do the same thing again. So that should clean out any debris that's stuck in there. It was pretty dusty, so sometimes the dust gets in there and it absorbs the grease, and then that causes it to not work properly. It starts getting the grease all gunky. So now we're gonna just clean off the excess grease from the top with the paper towel or napkin. Okay, and then we'll put this back on. All right, and that should be good. You can take it out, make sure it's not getting too much grease on the inside here. You only want it kind of on the shaft piece. Okay, so that should be good. Let's see here. Yep, that fan is good to go. So in some cases the bearings actually break, or the plastic mounts that hold it in place break. And if that happens, then you definitely have to replace the fan. You can't repair it like this. You can add grease and it will help a little bit, but it'll still have problems. So you do want to replace the fan if that's the case. Okay, so now we're going to put the fan back and then reapply the thermal paste. So let's test it while I'm holding it. I'll see if I can feel the weird vibrations. Nope, that one's, I think it's good. There's a very tiny vibration, so it's probably the bearings got a little damaged. There is the fan model number here if you wanted to replace this fan. It's BS5005HS-U2N, okay? So if you wanted to replace the fan, hopefully that will help. That's only one of the fans, so let me see if I can get the other fan for you. So, okay, so the other fan, I think it is different. So the other fan model number, if you need this one, so this is BS5005HS-U2M. So instead of U2N, it's U2M, as in Mary. So let's see. If you have your fans, so if you're listening to your fans from the top, this is the left fan. So when you have your laptop, so since it goes in this way, when you actually have your fans on your laptop, you'll actually have your laptop down sitting on the table this way. So this is the left fan. So the left fan ends with the M as in Mary. The right fan ends in N as in Nancy. So if you're replacing the fans, okay. So hopefully that video will help you guys. Let me see if there's any dust on here to blow out. I'm going to use this little air blower and try and blow any dust from this. Okay, usually I use an electric one, but I can't really do that inside, so let's test. Okay, this fan's definitely perfectly fine. And another way you know that the fan is good or bad is when you move the fan, as you notice. Actually, let's see if I can zoom in to show you this. But when you move the fan, it like wobbles back and forth. It doesn't just stop. So if the grease is bad, it won't do this wobble thing after it stops. You can see how it wobbles a little bit. That's how you know the fan is good. Okay? Okay, at least grease-wise, that's how you know the fan is good. Okay, so let's put the fan back in this. Okay, I'm gonna have to apply or add the screws back now so it's easier, because it's gonna be harder to hold it in place when it's upside down. Be careful because there's that thermal paste and stuff all over the bottom, so you can't just set this down somewhere or it's gonna get on everything. So keep that in mind. Or if you do, you have to put it back in where it came from. Okay, so I'm going to put all these screws back in. I'm going to pause that because I have to do it off camera. All right, I'm back. So what we're going to do now is clean off the old thermal paste. So I'm going to leave this heat pad stuff because it's still gunky, but this stuff is getting dried up. So what you're going to do is I just take a paper towel and then I kind of just rub this off. You don't want to do it over the computer because this stuff will fall off in little chunks. So what you do is you actually have to hold it over a trash can, hold it upside down, and then rub the stuff out. Okay, once you do that, I'm going to have to apply some rubbing alcohol and then clean it again. So I'm going to do cleaning this part first off camera, as well as cleaning this dried up stuff off camera as well. All right, I'll be back. Alright, so I scraped off the majority of the solid thermal paste. So what I'm going to do now is take a piece of paper and some 91% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. Okay, just get it a little bit wet, and then I'll clean off whatever residue I can with this. So just rub it. Be careful with the little pads. This pad's like broken. Okay, but just clean it as best you can. Not all of it, the residue will come off, but not all the color will change back to copper because it is got some oxidization. So keep that in mind. You won't be able to get all of the dark color off. Okay, so don't worry. That's normal. Okay. All right. So it's normal that you won't be able to get all the oxidization off. Keep that in mind. It will just be no more of that gunky gray stuff that's sticking on it. Okay, so here you can see it's still oxidized, but there's no more of the flakes of gray stuff. That's the important part. Same thing with this. You want to just clean off the die. The only important part is the shiny silver area, so you don't need to worry too much about getting the stuff off of the outer area of the chip. But if you want, you can clean that too. Okay, so just clean it like that. Okay, just like that, and then dry it up. Okay, and then make sure to blow the lint off. If there's lint on it, you want to clean it off. If you use paper towels, it works better. These napkins kind of shred up, so I just use a new one, dry one, to get the little loose dust off. Okay, I don't think that's dust. What is that? Is it a little nick in it? Yeah, that won't come out. Okay, so once you do all of that, then you want to get a tube of thermal paste. Let me see here. It's trapped by my other junk. Okay, I'm gonna grab a tube of thermal paste. Okay, so once you do that, you don't use too much thermal paste. I always see people way overdo it. So let me see, I need to line up this and see. I'm going to need to add a little thermal paste on all these dark gray pads. Okay, then we got this long strip up there. Let's see here, this will go on. Oh, that's upside down. Okay, make sure you put it on right side up. Okay, so those small pads, there's still the pads there, so I'm going to leave those be. And then that one just connects up here. So yeah. Okay, so I'm only going to put it where it has the residue. So we're going to put it on these two CPU and GPU dies. So here I'll show you. Let's see if I can kind of show how much you need. Oh, that's a weird reflection. It makes it look like it has gunk on it. Okay, so anyways, this one, the die is pretty big, so you're going to need quite a bit more than the other one, but it's not a perfect square, so you're going to put about that much. That should be more than enough. That's probably actually too much. So normally for like CPU, for a desktop CPU, actually that should be a good amount. Okay, so normally for a desktop CPU, if it's like this whole metal part, so normally a desktop CPU, this whole square will be metal, not just this centerpiece. You'll want to use about the size of a pea. So when it smashes down, it'll actually make a circle here. When you smash it down, it actually spreads super thin. So you don't need to apply too much. So this is probably about the size of a cooked, fluffed up long grain of rice. Or I don't know what kind of rice, but this one, usually you only need like the size of a uncooked grain of rice because it's so much smaller. So about that much. Okay, and then I try and keep it all centered so that way when you place the heatsink down, it'll actually push from the top and spread the what do you call the heat thermal paste. It'll spread it outwards, so any bubbles that are there, it'll be pushed towards the outer edge. The center is the most important part to be kept cooled. Okay, and you kind of want to make sure that it's spread out evenly. Okay, so that way when you press this down, it'll spread out and make like an oval. And then these, since it already has like the, oops, let me zoom back out. So these little black chips, these are the GPU memory. So these, since it already has this bluish stuff, you don't really need to apply like crazy amounts of thermal paste. I basically just put a little bit in the center of each spot. So when you push it down, again, it pushes all the bubbles outwards. So that's the main thing I'm looking to do. Okay, just add some towards the center, like that. And then when you push it down, it will spread that blue stuff back out. Okay, even that's actually too much, but it's sticking to the thing. Come on, let go. There we go. Okay, just like that. Usually the spacing for these memory chips is kind of wide, so the heat pads that are under here are usually kind of thick, like a millimeter or something. But since they're melted, it's kind of hard to tell. Let's see. Okay, so there we go. That should be good enough. And I'm going to scrape off this excess just because some blue stuff is stuck on it, and I don't want that blue stuff to be used for cooling CPUs. Okay, let's see. Do any of them need more? I'm going to clean the nozzle off of my thing. Let's see here. Okay. Alright, so these are okay. Maybe I'll add it to this one. Alright, so again, I try and keep it like as a mound in the center of the chip. So when you put the thing back on top, it spreads the stuff back out and pushes the bubbles towards the outside. This one has way too much, but let's take some of that out and put it on this smaller one. Sorry, my head's in the way. Okay, there we go. So now that we got all that thermal paste there, so if you're wondering, I use IC Diamond. The diamond thermal paste is nice because it's non-conductive, so if you do happen to get it on some components here, it won't cause any damage. It's just the cleanup is kind of a little difficult. All right, so now we're gonna put the fan back in. Make sure you have it the right way, the 4 screws lining up with the 4 screws and the 3 screws lining up with the 3 screws. Okay, then we're gonna lower it slowly and drop it. Try and make sure to drop it in place properly the first time because you can't really move it around. Here we go. Okay, so we'll go back to the PH1 screwdriver. And they actually number these, so there's a 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, 5 here, 6 here, and 7 here. So what I do is I'll twist it backwards to hear the click, and then I'll twist it twice on that. Go to the second one, hear the click. There, 1, 2. Same thing with this one. 1, 2. Same thing with this one. Make sure it's in place. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. All right, then I'll do this again. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And just repeat. 1, 2. 2. 1, 2. 2. 2. 1, 2. All right, and now it's tightened all the way. Make sure it's tight. All right, make sure it's tight. Also, make sure that you didn't trap these underneath. All right, hopefully you did that before you screwed down the things. Excuse me. Okay, make sure the screws are tight. Okay, so after you make sure they're tight, wait a little bit and then check and tighten them again. I'm gonna make sure and put all these other screws back in. So, oh, it's zoomed out in too much. So I'm gonna put these screws back for the fan. So there's the 1 screw on this side. And then the 2 screws for this side. Okay. That one and this one. Don't forget to peel off the plastic that you put on top of the SSD down here. If you did put a plastic there, okay? If you don't, you might overheat your SSD. Okay, there we go. And we will put this plug back in. Kind of, it's a little bit difficult to line it up because it has to be hovering slightly. Let's see here. There we go. There we go, pull that in. Same thing with this connector. Get that, pull that back in as well. There we go. All right, if you want, you can put the adhesive back on top of the cable. It's not really needed, but we'll put it back there. And then don't forget this adhesive that we took off earlier. Does it stick to that? How was that sticking? I think it was like that. Let's see. There's a curve there. Yep. Okay, so this was this. Okay, let's see. Now we got all the little rubber pads to put back on top of the screws. Check one more time to make sure the screws are tight. Sometimes the thermal paste will take a while to kind of spread out, and then it allows you to tighten the screws a tiny bit more. Not really much, but it's always good to check. Okay, now let's put back all these little rubber pads. Okay, so we got this one. these screws. And that you got all these rubber bits back in place. We will put in the battery and then test and make sure everything is working. Sometimes when you remove the battery, you do want to plug the computer back in. Sometimes the act of unplugging the battery will cause the computer to not turn on until you plug the computer back in, so keep that in mind. And let's see, let's keep that adhesive aside. So we're going to put the battery back in now. So these adhesives were on top, so make sure to keep them out of the way when you put the battery back in. We'll plug the connector back in first, just like that. Line it up and then push it in. Okay, and then this battery just drops in place. Make sure you're not damaging any cables putting it there. Okay, so we got that. Pull this tape back over. Make sure everything that you unplugged is plugged back in. Okay, I didn't unplug really much to this computer, so that's good to go. So now we can test it because it's missing the screws here because we have the bottom cover off. Be careful when opening the computer. You want to open it slowly. Okay. All right, and then let's check if it turns on without it. Okay, I don't have to plug it in, so I turned it on. You can hear the fan is much quieter and the computer is turning on. So that's all there is to that. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe because that'll help others find this video. It'll also help me. And thank you for watching. And hopefully you can make your fans much quieter like this computer. So it still makes a tiny bit of noise. I don't know what it sounded like before. I don't know if you can hear it. But compared to before, it was making a loud buzzing sound. So yeah, hopefully this video helped you. Again, if it did, like and subscribe so other people can find this video. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.